Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Loose Balls Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chris, and I'm here with my co-host, Eli.
Another wonderful week here, Chris. Glad to be back. What a wonderful week to be talking about football again. I feel like things are starting to, reach an even keel in this off season. We got some news to report on, so happy to
Yeah,
uh happy to be here, truthfully.
those with their little calendars counting off days at home, just know that we are under 60 days until football is back, baby. Till we
Oh
get
yeah.
Sunday footballs. Yeah, well,
It's loose balls, baby. Let's go.
it is loose balls. Uh, Starting off with what's coming back is we get Hard Knocks making an appearance again with the first episode
Uh-huh.
coming out. Would it be yesterday or was it
I
this
think it was
morning? It was
yesterday,
yesterday.
yeah.
It was yesterday.
hmm
So Eli and I both watched it, and it's the Giants this year. This
Yeah.
was all their off-season kind of stuff we're talking about. They bring in their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Few thoughts. We have a few
Yeah.
thoughts about this. I think the
Yeah,
biggest one
exactly.
being the Saquon situation makes
Yeah.
zero sense
Huge
to me
theme.
on how they handled this.
Yes, 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 yes. Huge theme throughout the episode. They definitely go back like I want to say like 2 months ago, like where things are pretty ambiguous going into the draft, Saquon's release and everything like that. And yeah, seeing how they handled it, the conversations that were going on in top brass at the Giants doesn't give me too much confidence for the future outcome, as one of the representatives was talking about. Like, what does our team look like after he's gone? And I think we could kind of answer that here. You
Yeah,
know,
it's not good.
not good.
And then the other one, the comment made, will someone pay him more than what we can offer him? And the answer is
Yeah.
absolutely. If you're like, there is a key scene, and sorry if you guys haven't watched it yet, there is spoilers here,
Mhm.
but this is all from like February, and this whole Saquon thing was pretty well publicized,
Yeah.
where they're talking
We
about we
we've
could
talked about it.
franchise tag him,
Yeah.
which they should have. If they knew they weren't going to pay him, they should have franchise tagged him because then you at least get him for one more year.
Yep.
However, they said maybe we can get him for a better offer. There's no way you're getting him for a better offer of 12 million a year because
Yeah.
other
There's
teams will
no
pay
way.
that.
Oh yeah.
So to have someone in the front office sit there and go, "Will someone pay him more than us?" and nobody looked at him like he was insane is
Yeah.
wild to me.
Like people looked as if they were pondering and thought like, oh, would
Maybe we
they?
could get him
Wouldn't
back.
they? I mean, it's not even a converse. It should be even in the conversation.
And
You
then
should
they
have like statisticians going over what, in the bell curve, the highest amount of money you might be able to get for this guy. He's the top brass when it comes to RB in the league right now. Right next to CMC, one of the most star RBs in the league for sure.
Yeah, it was not a well thought out process. They definitely were paying for it. I mean, how can you look at that and go like, so I don't think anybody's gonna. The market's kind of dipping, and there's alternatives. We could get Joe Mixon, we could get
Yeah.
Zach Mott. Don't get me wrong. If I'm a GM somewhere and I'm looking at it and I can have a chance of having Joe Mixon or Zach Moss or any of the guys that were really talking about Tony Pollard, Austin
hmm
Eckler, Josh Jacobs. I would be pretty okay with that depending on who the running back is. Now, if my running
Yeah.
back is substantially better than all of them, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not very
Arguably,
happy.
all of those RBs you could probably get for under 12 mil, a year.
I think Jacobs went for 17, but yeah, I think everybody else is under that. And
Yeah.
so to me it felt silly.
Yeah.
Like you have a really good running back in house, and I get it. You don't want to pay him. You made it pretty clear you didn't want to pay him when you signed Daniel Jones. But
Yeah.
if I have a system that allows me to keep this person in the building, even if he's unhappy,
hmm
I'm going to do that. And then to
Yeah.
have the balls to call him and say, "Yeah, we're gonna let you test your options on free agency, and then you can come back to us, and we'll see if we can match your offer." If I'm
Crazy.
Saquon on the other end of that phone, I'm not calling him back.
Yeah. See you never.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. A team that has made it to the conference finals, and then the
Yeah,
Super Bowl in the last 3 years
several
has
times. Yeah.
called me and says,
Uh-huh.
"We want to pay you more money than you would have made to come play for us." I am
Yeah.
not picking up that phone to
Here's a
call back
winning
to
record.
O'Shea.
Here's more money. Here's everything you wanted. Welcome to the team, you know?
Also, you're not going to be expected to carry this offense. You
Yeah.
have to do your role. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not calling back the Giants.
Yeah. hmm Pop off when
Uh,
you want to, you know?
right. They
Yeah.
talked a lot about the Danny Dimes contracts really screwing him over. I
hmm
fully agree.
Yeah.
Interesting piece though that Drew Lock was not talked about at
Yeah.
all.
Pretty brutal.
If
Pretty
he well,
brutal.
and I wonder if
And
he's going to come up later on. But
yeah, I'm sure he will because the end of the episode, it was kind of like facing Dimes. Danny Dimes is like this, the face of the team now, gonna have to be the guy stepping into the role, and I'll have some mixed opinions here in the second half of this podcast when we go over overrated players. Know?
Danny Dimes is the face of that franchise, at least for this year, because they don't
Yeah,
have anybody else, and then they're gonna
yeah,
not sign him again. God, they
yeah,
better not sign him again. There is no amount of money that the Giants should look at and be like, "Yeah, we could do this," because if we're setting Trevor Lawrence as the bar as this is like there's not a better option than Trevor Lawrence out there right now, so we're going to pay
yeah.
him his money.
hmm
There are better options than Daniel Jones
Oh
out
yeah.
there right now that you could
hmm
probably get. So, in fact, I think they got one in Drew Lock, but we'll
True.
see. I
hmm
again, but that's a close one. I don't know if I'm stoked about Drew Lock being a franchise quarterback either. They tried that in
Yeah,
Denver. It's Denver, yeah.
yeah.
So
hmm Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot. It was a
Exciting
lot.
episode. Kind of just reflecting off of last season's off season Hard Knocks. Reflecting from one New York team to the other. I think there was a lot more exciting things happening in the Jets background at the time. But I feel like I'm more excited to see kind of the absolute dumpster fire that's kind of going on with the Giants right now.
Yeah, well, and
uh,
the other big part of this is the Giants didn't do a whole lot this offseason to begin with.
yeah,
And so what it really is like, oh, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. Because there
yeah,
isn't.
hmm
It's not that necessarily the Giants are bad, they just haven't made any moves. They got Devin Singletary, they
yep,
traded for Brian Burns, which is talked about in this episode,
hmm
and they signed Drew Lock and they drafted Malik Neighbors. Like
yep,
they haven't moved a whole lot, so there's not a whole lot for Hard Knocks to cover.
yep.
So I'm curious to see where they go from here, especially when we get to OTAs and stuff like that. So
True.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, okay.
I like it.
Do
I
you want
like
to
it.
start our?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So, second half of
So
this podcast
yeah,
here, we
not
are
even
going to
second
be
half.
going. Yeah, yeah, true. We are going to be going over most overrated players you might be able to find on this upcoming fantasy draft. Okay, so
And what we mean by overrated is that people are going to reach for these players. These are
yeah,
players that you can probably find a good alternative in their
later
picks, like where
rounds.
you would pick them
hmm
without having to overreach for something that they're probably not going to perform. They're not going to recreate the numbers worth the pick that they're taking. So,
Yeah. Yep.
do you want to start with honorable mentions or do you want to start at 10 and do honorable mentions after?
Well, let's start at 10 and then do honorable mentions after.
Okay. You want to go
Um,
first?
yeah, here. So, rounding out my number 10, this is kind of, I'm going to start in like kind of an ambiguous place and then kind of spice up as we go on. So I'm starting with one of this year's draftees being projected in a round 10 position, Xavier Worthy with Kansas City. Uh, I
Mm-hmm.
believe this player to be, a good free agent, but might be able to pick up like week one, week two. Uh, I don't really see him finding his way onto someone's team during the draft. I'm just going to point this out there. Sure, he's got speed, but I feel like it's going to be another situation of Patty Mahomes nailing a face mask throughout most of the season. I don't really know if this player has hands. This all being said, I don't know too much about him, but just based off previous drafts with Kansas City, I think history kind of tells where this is going to kind of go.
With your list, is it like my 10 is one that if you reached for, it's not the end of the world, and my one is like if you reach for this, you're really gonna hurt. Is that how your
Yeah,
list is, or is your list just
yeah.
kind of like, okay, I think
hmm
that's fair. So you have him as undrafted, but if someone picks him, it's not the end of the world late in the
Not
draft.
the, yeah, yeah,
Makes
exactly.
sense. Makes sense.
You know, yeah,
So my 10 that if you reach for, it's not the end of the world. They're probably going to do fine, but I think a lot of people are going to reach for it, and you can probably get the same stats somewhere else. Is
hmm
Derrick Henry? I have
Oh,
Derrick
okay.
Henry as a reach because I
Yeah,
know someone is going to pick them in the first or second, pick him in the first or second round,
that's fair.
and you probably the numbers you're going to get justify him being maybe a second running back choice,
Yeah, like
or like
round
you pick two
4.
receivers first and
Yeah,
then you pick him.
yeah,
But someone's going to pick him early because he went to the Ravens. That's a run heavy offense,
yeah,
and that's going to make the difference. And it's a kind of a guess because he is on a new team. So I put him here because people are going to reach,
yeah.
and it might
I
pay
like that.
off.
Yeah,
Probably not. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I also have an RB coming up here. Uh, the RB of the New England Patriots, no less. Ramondre
Oh
Stevenson being projected in round 9. Uh, this is an easy waiver wire pickup, like if you are struggling, sure, pick up Ramondre Stevenson. I don't really see him, at least as of right now. They haven't really shown a run heavy dynamic with the Patriots. I don't know why he would be projected to be round 9. Um, but feel free to like keep this guy on the back burners.
yeah, I'd agree. I don't even have him on my roster because I don't know if I would have reached for him to begin with. But someone will. Someone will see it and be
Yeah,
like, well, there's no one else on the offense
like
where
it's
it's
a
gonna
reach.
be him.
Yeah, it's a reach to get this guy on your starting roster, and he's projected to be on someone's starting roster.
Late pick or free agency. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm
So
What about your number
yeah.
9?
My number 9 is someone we've actually talked about quite heavily, and again is someone that will go in the first or second round, even though they shouldn't, and that
Oh,
is tight end Travis Kelsey. I think he
oh,
probably
nice.
will be one of the top tight ends off the board, but no
Yeah,
other tight end is going before the fourth round at the earliest, really.
true.
And I would put Travis Kelsey probably in the fourth or fifth round,
Yeah,
probably right around Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, and Laporta.
yeah,
But someone is
yeah,
going to go like, well, he's been the best tight end in the league. Like
yeah. I
someone's going to try
remember
and take him
seeing
early.
that. He was projected round 3, which I also do think that is a reach. But yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't think he's going to be one of the biggest point earners, at least this far in his career. Like they did pick up Xavier Worthy. They did pick up a few more receivers to kind of lighten the load.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Then seeing the
So
drama, on the team dynamic, I'm more than happy
right,
for him.
and that to me is a big factor of it. Plus, he's older now. He's
Yep.
now 33, 34.
Yeah.
He
Tight
just
ends get
signed an
hit hard too.
extension, and they do
Yeah.
get hit hard. I, yeah, there was a time where he was worth going in the first round because he was the only person catching balls from Patty Mahomes. That
True.
time has passed, and the rest of the league is caught up with tight ends. Like
Yeah.
tight end 1 through 6. If you listen to our earlier episodes, we
hmm
talk about them. There really isn't a big jump in difference, so
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. 8, we move back to running
Yeah.
backs.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have Zach Moss. And the reason I have Zach Moss here is
Oh,
because everybody's going to remember those like 4 or 5 weeks where he was replacing Jonathan Taylor and he looked
dude,
really
he was
good.
lit.
And now he's on the Bengals and he's the starting
Yeah.
guy on the Bengals, so he's going to get all the carries. And while I
Yeah.
agree, he should be drafted. This should be your second or third running back off the board.
hmm
And someone is going to pick them first
Yeah.
because it's the Bengals. They're going to get the ball. They're going to get pass catches. He's going to do all 3 downs. He did all 3 downs for the Colts.
Yeah.
He's having a resurgence. This is going to be his breakout year.
True. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. I completely agree so far, as much as agreeing with you as I also have a Bengals player as my number 8 here. I got T. Higgins over here.
Yeah.
I think because he has a projected round 7, so he's going to be like some sort of flex receiver. I'm not exactly too confident he's going to be putting up that kind of points this season, at least in a draft type setting. I don't really, I could see him being a decent trade later on. I don't see worth wasting capital in a round 7 position for T. Higgins here. Um, I think this is going to be a more comfortable reach later on. Someone gets hurt, trade for T. Hig, give up like a kicker or something. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be Jamar Chase, and it really
Yeah,
comes down to can Joe Burrow stay healthy? Like that's the big
exactly.
piece. And T Higgins wants out,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yep.
his
That's
he
why. That's
watched
why I
his
think
partner in crime, Tyler Boyd, go off to Tennessee, and he's like, that could be me.
exactly. Yep,
Uh,
exactly. That's why I got
so
him here
yeah,
at number 8.
my 7
Hmm.
is a twofer,
Oh.
and I put them both here because in reality, you're never going to know which one's going to do better than the other, or which
Hmm.
one's going to be on the same team at the end of this year, and that is Debo and Ayuk. I
Oh,
Someone is going to
wow.
reach for one or the other, saying that they are going to be the
Wow.
better of the two, but they are
Yeah,
both going to do the same numbers, and
that's
there are
fair.
better receivers than
Hmm.
both of them to be your number one. Now, if you get
True.
them as your second receiver, either one, it's kind of just a toss up. But even then, I would say that there are other receivers in the league that
Yeah,
will put up similar numbers that you don't have to worry about. Well, they're competing
true.
with each other for pass
I
catches. They're
definitely,
not happy with where they are. So
yeah, I definitely think one of those receivers is going to go round 2, which I do think is too early. Uh,
it's going to be Devo because the
yeah,
name.
yeah, true. I also have a potential round 2 wide receiver here that I think might be a little overrated. I got Garrett Wilson here. Okay, he is
Okay.
projected round 2, and sure, he has technical ability, he has speed, he has hands. He's got the whole package. But man, I don't trust that QB. I can't. Can't trust the situation. And I think if you're going to be sacrificing a lot and putting him on the line as your number 2 pick, I think that might be a little overrated. You know, that's just
Yeah.
me.
I have one of his teammates on this list, actually. I
Ooh,
fully
same.
agree, though.
Yeah,
I bet you we have the same teammate on this list, actually, then. If you have another
probably.
one. Uh, so now, kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it, these are ones that if you reach for, you're really gambling,
Yeah.
that they could bail out. They couldn't work out well for you. Number
Hmm.
6 for me just signed with Green Bay, and that's Josh Jacobs. We're
Oh, wow.
We are not Josh Jacobs haters here, but we do feel that the Raiders should have traded him
Yeah.
sooner and not let him
Yeah.
walk away for free. He is joining a team where he's going to have a handcuff in AJ
Hmm.
Dillon.
Yep.
He is on a team now where they like to pass the ball. It is
Hmm.
going to free up space for him to run,
Yeah.
but his
He,
best seasons that he's
yeah.
had are where
Hmm.
he's gotten the ball like 300 times.
Force fed. Yeah, for sure.
Force fed, and that's not
Yeah.
going to happen here.
And to be fair, I think he does perform better splitting carries, but I think it's going to completely impede his point getting ability, which I completely agree with.
Right, and I didn't look at any list about where they had him set to draft. I have it listed that he should probably be taken between the third and the fifth round, so not your first running back, but if you get a second
Yeah,
running back out of him,
I
that's
I
probably
think
pretty
that's
good.
I think that's where he's projected is around round 5.
But
Um,
someone will see
yeah,
Derrick
I think
Henry
someone's
and
gonna reach. Yeah.
CMC go and go like, "Oh my God, I need a volume back," and
Hmm.
they'll just remember that Josh Jacobs gets
Yeah.
the ball a lot.
Or someone's going to be seeing the latest episode of Hard Knocks here, talking about Jacobs this, that's this, why did
Yeah,
he do so good? We kind of want him. Someone's going to kind of get inspired, I think. I
and
can see
the
that.
one thing that is going for him over everybody else is his health, and he stays healthy pretty well.
He does.
So that being said, I have
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs at 6.
Yeah. I also have a running back here at my number 6. Pretty running back heavy list we have so far here, I would say.
It's because they're
Um,
overrated.
whoa, okay. Wasn't gonna go that far, but hey. I got James Cook over here, you know.
Yeah,
Um, he's projected round 6. I think that's another pretty easy get later on. Like sure, star RBs are pretty essential in any draft. I think after your round two, round three, you're good to wait until round eight. I think most RBs in this kind of like middle ground position, not really worth the take. And I think James Cook is going to be another one of those reaches just because, I mean, Buffalo is really a good dumpster fire right now. There's no
Well,
real telling like where that ball's going to be going.
and you have to remember that James Cook really didn't do anything fantasy wise until almost what, week 9, week 10?
Yeah.
So it's not that it's necessarily even that he's bad. It's just you don't know. To pick him up
Yeah,
with 10 to sit on him for 10 weeks would be insane
exactly.
to waste a pick on him.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
yeah. Uh yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I
yeah.
also have a Bills player in my next spot. And
I
really
also
it's a
have a Bills
place
player in my next spot as well.
it's a uh it's a placeholder for the entire receiver core of the Bills.
Oh.
But I have
Oh.
Curtis Samuel because I've heard a lot
Okay.
of grumblings and like talks that this is time for Curtis Samuel to break out. He was
Yeah.
stuck on a bad team with Washington where they really couldn't get him the ball. They were already trying to replace him the moment they drafted him. He's now on a team where he's got a good quarterback and stuff like that. Doesn't
Hmm.
change my mind. He has not proven
Sure.
that he's worth being a number one receiver. And until he does, stay away. I have him listed as 11th to 14th round, and that is if you are worried that he's going to pop off in the first week and someone's going to pick him up, or you're a
Yeah.
Bills fan. In reality,
Yep.
you could let him go and be waiver wire pickup. So,
There you go.
yeah.
Yep. 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 Uh, all right. Rounding up my number five here. Also had a Bills player. This one being projected round three. I think we can all guess. I got Josh Allen here. Okay. I think this is the season where we kind of start seeing him crumble. Last season we saw grumblings. You know, you can only get hit so hard, be so, ballsy going out every game and not pay for it. At some time, got to come around to it. And round three for Josh Allen, I think, is pretty crazy. He is the top ranked QB in the draft. Um, and I do not see how.
It's because fantasy wise, he puts up big numbers. While he does turn over the ball, he throws the ball a lot and he scrambles a lot. Um, that's the
That's
only
true.
thing going for him. But if he doesn't have anybody that can catch the ball when he throws it, his numbers are going to drop. So probably I agree. I would stay away from him. However,
Mhm.
if you're picking someone from the Bills and you really don't, and like you're like, it's my team, I got to pick someone. Pick Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah,
Like
for
that's the
sure.
only player that I
Yeah.
would say take early, and not even then,
Yep.
that's like fourth round when tight ends start going. Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking Dalton Kincaid. That's fine.
True.
Um, Continuing the Bills hate
Hmm.
in my fourth spot, a
Oh,
former
wow.
Bills
Uh-huh.
is Stephon Diggs. I think
Oh,
someone is going to
wow.
reach for him because he's on
Yeah.
a new team and this is his
Uh-huh.
time to shine. I don't see it too many mouths to feed on that offense, and I also think CJ Stroud is going to have a bit of a slump. And I also
Hmm.
don't know if Stephon Diggs still has enough in like not enough in the tank to be a number one wide receiver. He has that. But enough to be a superstar wide receiver where you're arguing that it's like, yeah, maybe I do take him round two, round three. I
Hmm.
have him listed as fourth or fifth round. Like if you can get
Okay.
him there, that's probably a safe bet. Someone is going to reach just on the name alone.
Yeah.
And I don't it's going to impact your roster in a good way to have him,
Yeah.
but I
Yep.
think people are going to reach with high expectations and he's not going to deliver. He will
Yeah.
be a 10 to 15 points a week player,
Yep.
but he's not one where it's like you never have to question if you're going to start him. You might
Yeah.
replace him with someone who has a better matchup this season.
Yeah, no.
So,
I completely agree. I think people are going to see him as the next Tyreek, and he is not going to be putting up Tyreek numbers. For
no,
sure.
he's no. Yeah,
Yep.
Tyreek is one of
Uh,
one.
yes, exactly. Going to my number four here. Rounded back up to the Jets here. I got Brees Hall. You know, this has been a fairly injury-prone player. I don't really know, honestly, too much about his point spreads in fantasy, but this guy is projected round one. And when I think of Jets, I don't think. I'm gonna select this guy round one. You know, that's just me.
Yeah, this is a late round one, if at all. But I agree. I would not take Brees Hall in the first round just because I don't see like he's good. He
Yeah,
came in like they drafted Michael Carter and everybody thought that was the answer, and then they brought him in and he just stole that starting role. He is a
true.
good running back. He will be a good running back to have. Maybe a number one like running back, but
Really? Okay.
middle second round, like you took a wide receiver first and you come back around, he's available.
Like Brees is
Like
gonna be putting up better numbers than Saquon.
no, see, and that's the part. Like if I passed up Saquon to get him, if I passed up CMC, if I
Yeah,
passed up
that's what I'm saying. Is like
like
the only like RB obviously rank higher is CMC, but I don't see him doing better than, at least a good handful of other RBs in the league,
yeah,
you know?
and yeah, and there's a bunch like I don't know. I'd put him on like that par of like
I'm saying round
Bijan
three.
and
Yeah.
like
Okay.
good. They're
Arc
good.
Arc Archain even?
He's better than him because he's not in a committee.
Okay. Okay.
I would put him probably in the same place as not Pacheco. Trying to think who else relies. Maybe like Kenneth Walker, where a defense or an offense can run through him, but they
Okay.
still will pass the ball.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, like Travis Etienne, but Etienne pops
Hmm.
off, but everybody doesn't draft him high. I'd put him in that range. Like if you could get him and Travis Etienne in the same breath, they
Okay.
might have a killer season. They might not. It really is a toss up. Like they're not. It's not a guarantee. Uh,
Hmm.
but surprisingly enough, you and I do not have the same Jets player on
Oh,
our
okay.
roster. I did not put Brees Hall and I did not put Garrett Wilson in there. I put Aaron
Wow.
Rodgers.
Okay. Hey, nice.
Aaron
I like
Rodgers
it.
is at 3. I
A little bit
have
of a legacy
him.
pick, you know?
He's listed as a 10th pick, 10th round pick,
Wow. Oh, a
undrafted.
10th round. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, undrafted is where he should be. I he has done.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like he is your second quarterback, and that's like a 14th, 15th round throwaway. That it's like, you know what? He's available. I would even say I'm taking
Oh
Kirk Cousins
man.
over Aaron Rodgers at this point. And that's a
Wow.
lot. That's
Wow.
painful to
That's
say,
crazy.
but he's coming off of an ACL tear.
Yeah.
He I I
Hey,
don't
we
know.
can't
This
forget
is
he didn't show up to mandatory practice the other day too, you know?
but he has a but he's only won for the Packers, and the only reason he's won for the Packers is because of the fact that uh,
The team was built around him for a
the
decade.
team was built around him. And when they brought in a new coach, he was like, I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it
Yeah.
my way. And
Yeah,
so it's like,
exactly. And
okay,
then once he threw his temper tantrum, he found another team to take on his liability.
right. And that's exactly right. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, man. Really,
Hmm.
I'm not buying any of this. Like, you need to settle down.
Hey, some
So,
people are buying it though. Hopefully.
but that's the problem is people are going to buy high on him and he's not going to perform. In
Uh-huh.
fact, he might just get injured again.
Hmm.
It's not worth it to me. So that's that's my thought about it. I just don't see Aaron Rodgers being worth
True.
much, if at all,
True, true, true.
anything. Like they're so the most you're in is a 15-man league. Maybe your
Yeah.
15th person's taking Aaron Rodgers and starting him.
Yeah.
Should not be anybody else above that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
What's your 3?
My number three, throwing it back to the Giants over here. I got Malik Neighbors here.
Okay.
He is currently projected a round four wide receiver. Um, I don't know if you've been keeping up with wide receivers in the league. There's a lot of really good ones, and to take Malik Neighbors projected round four, I think that's just kind of crazy. That's just me. There is no one there to kind of really throw him the football except for the face. Danny Dimes backing it up, and as we can see here in Hard Knocks, I wouldn't say things are looking too healthy right now. Uh, I wouldn't really waste the capital. Um, that's why I think he's pretty overrated in this position.
Yeah. Okay. I could agree with that. he's a rookie. It's hard to say. Like, I wouldn't necessarily risk taking a rookie outside of maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. above like the eighth or ninth round. Like, this
Yeah.
is stash to see if they're worth anything.
Yep.
Um, that was your three, right?
That was my three. Yep.
Okay, my two
Hmm.
is also a rookie, and it's Caleb Williams.
Oh, wow.
I think Caleb Williams is going to get super overhyped, and you're going to expect him to put up Josh Allen numbers, and he's not going to do that. He might
Yeah.
even
I
be
mean,
like, "Oh, he's going to be CJ Stroud, which is top 15." He might,
yeah.
he might
Yeah.
be,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not. To me, I'm not rushing to the front of the line to draft Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams falls to me, sure,
Hmm.
I might. I don't know if I'm going to start him. I might take a more proven quarterback and then draft him as a second one just to see how he does.
Yeah.
But someone's going to take him and start him because he was the best quarterback in college. He's going to be the best in the NFL.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you think has a better system around them? Do you think JJ McCarthy has a better system around him, or do you think Caleb Williams has a better system around him?
Probably Caleb Williams. No. Jets have a better not Jets. Vikings have a better coach.
Vikings. Yeah.
Uh, but that being said, I don't think anybody's jumping up to take JJ McCarthy. I don't think anybody else is jumping up to take any of like the rookie
Yeah.
quarterbacks that were drafted. I think it's just
True.
Caleb Williams that gets all the talk, and I don't think he's going to perform at what people want him to. And that's not to say he's bad. That's
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
say that I don't see
In
it.
this, yeah, in this setting here, yeah, true. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that. Because
In this,
yeah, I would see people jumping up like round 6 and round 7 to take him, no doubt.
yeah. So that's where I'm at with it for him.
Yep.
So what's your number two?
My number two, I don't think we're going to really be finding any surprises here in these overrated players, but I got Chris Olave here. I have
Oh, okay.
Chris Olave projected round 3. I mean, I think we're kind of getting to the point of a tired team, and I think the league that the Saints are finding themselves in is going to be getting substantially tougher. And I think we're going to start seeing this player's numbers drop, not only due to Carr's age by this point, um, but just the system that he finds himself in. Sure, he could be a stud, but round 3, Chris Olave,
No,
I don't see it. I don't see it.
I also don't believe Carr is I'm not stoked about any team that Carr is quarterbacking for. I guess so.
True. Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. I agree. I think Chris Olave is worth picking, but just not. Round three means that he's like your second
Yeah. Like your
quarterback.
first or
So
second. Yeah.
yeah. So that's I agree. Do you want to you do your number one first? You want me to go first?
Sure. I could go number 1 here.
Let's hear it.
Uh, Kicking it off with the Raiders. I got Devontae Adams here as
Oh,
number 1 overrated player. I don't really see him getting any better, honestly, in this upcoming season than he was last season. QB situation hasn't really changed for him, and this guy is projected round 2. Uh, I think that's pretty out of pocket. That's just me. Um, but yeah, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't really see Devontae Adams going round 2. That's
that's
just me.
wild that they have him as round two, coming off of arguably his worst season in the NFL.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah, that let someone else pick them.
Yeah.
Go out
I
and get
mean,
someone better.
no doubt. Someone's going to be spending that capital round 2 to pick him up. Let him use it. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
you'll get better players later on. So I agree.
Yep.
Uh, my number one is based solely on the hype train. Hype train's riding high on this guy. Someone's gonna take him like 2 rounds before where he needs to be. He's not gonna perform
Oh
that
man.
well. You can get a
Yeah.
court. You can get someone in that same position that probably gonna put up same numbers. It's C.J. Stroud. It's no
Wow.
hate towards CJ Stroud. He's a great quarterback. I think he's worth drafting.
Yeah.
I am not going up to the first or second round to get him.
He's projected round 4.
I know he's projected round 4, but someone's going to look at the numbers that he put up last season without Stephon Diggs and
Yeah.
go, "Oh, that guy's going to be the best quarterback in
Yeah,
the
there's going to
NFL."
be a QB panic,
Yeah,
round 2, round 3. Yeah.
like it's going to be a run at like the middle of round 2. Someone's going to take him, and then like
This
Patty
guy's going to
Mahomes is
win the
going to
Super
go,
Bowl.
yeah.
Him.
So to
Yeah.
me, that is that is the reach. Like if you see someone take a quarterback early and you're like, "Oh, I really want CJ Stroud," just wait. I guarantee you will get a decent quarterback when it is your time to
Yeah.
pick. You don't need
Yeah.
to rush into it. So that's where it is. Because I also even marked it down. I was like 4th round, like first quarterback
Yeah.
off of the board in 4th round. You wanted to be CJ Stroud, fine. But
Yeah.
anything before that, no, I reached.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so
True.
that's where mine's at. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think I only put one guy on here that should go undrafted, and that was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think Ramondre Stevenson was my only
Yeah.
uh, yeah, undrafted.
So mine had a lot of actually. I'm surprised. It's kind of a nice mix between receivers and running backs. Not a lot of tight ends, but
Yeah,
tight
I
ends
think I feel
also.
like I got a lot of receivers, at
Yeah.
least on the higher end of my list.
My honorable mentions are a lot of running backs, though. I've got 5 honorable mentions.
Oh wow.
Um, how many do you got?
I only got one.
Oh, yeah. No,
So
I
you
went
you
5 because it was
yeah,
like
you cycle.
any of these guys could have been on this list.
Yeah.
I have Devin Singletary, should be undrafted. Someone's going to pick him though because the offense went so heavy through Saquon that they're thinking it's going to recreate again, and
Okay.
that Malik Neighbors is going to take some pressure off, so it'll open up the field to allow him to run more. I could agree
Nice.
with that. I'm also waiting until later on. I am not
Yeah.
like unless it's a keeper league and I'm hurting for a running back and I'm like trading with people and someone offers me Devin Singletary. I'm not drafting Devin Singletary. I'm waiting to see if he's worth it.
Yeah.
In that same breath, I'm also waiting on Giovanni Bernard. I don't think Giovanni Bernard was that good with Cincinnati, and now he's with the Texans, and the Texans are going to throw the ball a lot. I don't know
True.
if I necessarily see him getting better on that team.
Yeah.
People are going to reach as well for Bijan Robinson
Oh.
because Arthur Smith is gone. Now it's like he was drafted as like a top pick. He's got to be one of the best running backs in the league. I agree. I would
Yeah.
much rather wait and have a good running back in before deciding to get him, or just trying to get him off waivers.
True.
Uh, one, and then the last two are not running backs. I have DJ Moore,
Hmm.
who has just more people around him that also want the ball, so it gets harder for him to be
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna catch it." Like it's all me. It's me, me, me.
True.
Um, and then I have Joe Burrow as my last one,
Nice. I was very
and
close to putting Joe Burrow on mine.
he almost made like if I didn't put Aaron Rodgers on the list, he probably
Yeah.
falls in the number 3 spot
Yeah.
because of his injuries.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it just he makes me nervous, and the team has not done anything better to help that O line. So
True. True, true, true. Um, my only one that I think is I think going to go way too soon. And by way too soon, I mean you could take him round 3 or he could go undrafted. I got Kyle Pitts here. Wild card, and pretty much pure definition of it. If you pick this guy up in the draft, you have, nads of steel, I would say. To have trust in that, I mean, hey, more power to you. I mean, I would have to see first 3 weeks in the league with this new dynamic in order to make like a heavy trade for him. But if you take him, poof, like round 4, just get ready to be roasted. Oh man.
I mean, I agree. You're gonna get one of two things. He's either gonna be the best in the NFL or the
Yeah,
worst. And I'm leaning
exactly.
towards the worst. He has not done anything in his 4 years to prove
I,
that he's
I'm
going
le-
to be better.
I'll be frank, I'm leaning towards the better part of that, but there's no way I'm not using capital on him.
Right. When you could easily get him in the late rounds as like another tight
Yeah,
end pick. I would put him probably in about the same pickup spot where you could probably steal Evan Ingram. And I would still probably take Evan Ingram over Kyle Pitts.
yeah, yeah, I could see
Uh,
that.
but now when you start to argue like, is he better than the Jets tight end? Is he better than? Yeah, maybe you could sneak him in there, but
Dude, he's already projected higher than George Kittle.
wild,
That's crazy. I know.
wild is what I will
That
say
one's
about that.
crazy. Yeah. Kittle's projected round 8. Pitts is projected round 7.
No, no way. Uh,
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to me.
I mean, we haven't really talked about this, but biggest like player that you think is going to surprise you the most and be way better and play better than his projection, or where you think people are going to take him? Do you got one that you could think of?
Play way better. Okay, yeah. Let me think here. Honestly, um, I was gonna say, um, the wide receiver for Steelers.
George Pickens?
I was gonna say Pickens, but I think he's already like projected pretty high, honestly. So I don't think that's too hot of a take, but I think a lot of people are going to be overlooking him, and I think that might be a pretty sneaky grab if you can get him like, I don't know, round 4, round 5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd put him probably in like that same category of like DK Metcalf. Like if you can get him like fifth or sixth round, you're probably
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Um, I've got one that immediately came to not mind just because I read some stuff about him recently, and then I've got while I talk about that, I'm sure I'll think of another one. Um, it's Chris Godwin. The coaching staff has talked a lot about
Oh.
that they want to use Chris Godwin more in
Hmm.
the like offensive scheme of things. He's going to get the ball more and get more involved in the offense, which is great to hear as someone who wants to draft Chris Godwin. I've had Chris
Yeah.
Godwin on teams in the past. Never does anything.
Yeah.
Like it's all
Yep.
Mike Evans, or he is then all of a sudden gets like 10 catches for 100 yards, and it's like, all right, man, settle down. Like, make up your mind. What are we
Yeah.
doing here?
True. True. True.
Um,
Dude, they probably saw the success with Jacoby Myers over on the Raiders, having a good split of carry or a split of passes really helps
True.
the offense move forward.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, it I don't know. I'm torn about making that like my easy choice because it feels like it's a low hanging fruit because he didn't do well last year, so they're gonna project
Yeah.
him low.
Hmm. Yeah.
One who I think people will reach for, but at the same time might be worth the reach. It's Calvin Ridley
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because
Wait, who's passing him again?
Will Levis is throwing him the ball. He's competing with DeAndre Hopkins for catches. I
Yeah,
I don't hate.
it's kind of
My,
risky.
it is a risky pick, and that's one where it's like if someone reached for him, I'd be like, yeah, I can see it. I'm not necessarily like, oh my god, this is the best. That's the best pick of all time. But if I could steal him at his like rightful spot where he's like ninth or 10th round and he goes above stats, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised either
Okay.
because he didn't do much with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Also, completely forgot. Keep your eyes on Zamir White. I'm gonna say it again, dude. This is gonna be an RB that surprises the league. He's already projected around 11, which is right next to Raheem Mostert, which, hey, I mean, having his name next to a successful name like that, I'm more than happy to see that right off the bat. Sure, Raheem's backup, but you know, just based off of what I've seen this last season, it's a pretty comfortable spot. So keep your eyes on him.
yeah, I mean, uh, so wait, I missed that part. Is he backing up Madison or is he starting?
Who?
Or have they not
Raheem
announced?
Mostert?
No, not Raheem Mostert. White.
Oh, White's starting for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Raheem Mostert, it's tough. He's gonna split carries. It's the same way with like David
Yeah.
Montgomery and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, all right. You want to do a hot take, or do you think that was our hot take?
Um, I mean, that was pretty hot. It could get hotter though. Let's see. Um,
Oh, how could I forget when we're talking about players that have a potential to be drafted and do better when they're talking about and not mention future MVP Ezekiel Elliott?
Oh my gosh. How about this one? I think Jared Goff ends up top 10 QB this season.
I don't think that's not too hot though. He was what, 14 last season? Something like
Uh,
that.
he was number 11 last season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't yeah, I don't think that's necessarily too outlandish.
I mean,
The
having this conversation, I would say 2 years ago, I would be convicted of smoking crystal meth. To be
That
fair,
is true.
you know,
He is
like,
compared to where he was now, which is
yeah.
wild of the roller coaster ride that he went on. We're talking
Hmm.
someone who did he win the Super Bowl or did he just make the Super Bowl and lose? No, no, no,
Right.
no. They won. So wins it, can't recreate those numbers again, gets traded for Matthew Stafford, and then just helps build a resurging Lions. That
Yeah.
is a pretty wild move.
Hmm.
So yeah, I could see that. I could see this being like a hot take when you compare it to like years past. Like no
Yeah.
one would have seen this coming.
Big time. Especially in this struggling of a QB era we find ourselves in, like where do we find ourselves? Or we have like a lost identity. We no longer have like this huge dynasty other than the Kansas City, obviously, to like look at. And even then, I wouldn't say Patty Mahomes is like, I don't know, someone that's like touted as like already one of the greats, in my opinion, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, So
Okay.
yeah, pretty interesting little tale to say here.
All right. My hot take here. There's two routes I can go about this, and I think I'm going to go with my team here. Tua's going to be the league passing leader in the
Okay.
NFL this year. I don't think
Uh-huh.
that's the hot take. I think
Yeah,
the
no.
hot take here is that he's going to be the league passing leader. He's going to be in consideration for MVP. He's going to facilitate this offense to where they make the playoffs. They might even win their
Wow.
division.
Wow.
The hot take part here, though, is that with all of that, the Dolphins are still going to pass on him. They're not going to pay him, and they're either going to franchise tag him or they're going to let
Ooh.
him go.
No, if Tua does all that, the whole thing is like Tua's not gonna do that, but if Tua does all that, they take him for sure. He proves himself.
I don't know. See, that's the hot take part is that that's what they're looking for. They need it, but they're still not convinced. They're going to franchise tag him. I
That'd
think
be
that's what
crazy.
happens. And I think it is too. And I think that's going to miff him. And we're going to have a Saquon situation on our hands where he's going to walk away.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Sheesh.
that is that is my hot take here. So we
Wow.
got a Zeke MVP with Tua coming in close second. So,
There you go.
all
Crazy.
right. I think that's going to kind of wrap it up. So
Yeah.
tune in next week for when we talk about more Hard Knocks, and I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever else is coming up. This is still kind of the dead season of summer, so
Yeah, yeah, we'll see what kind of invigorating news we can bring to you next time.
all right. Later, y'all.
Next.
Bye.